Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Shariel if you're new, and if you're returning, thank you for coming back. As you see in the title, this video is the truth about dating athletes and rappers part 1. And I'll get into these 4 points I have after my intro. Just a little disclaimer before I get into my first point. This is not a tea spilling video. I'm not exposing anybody, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing to date athletes and rappers. I'm just giving a perspective that people don't really think about, because everyone thinks about the glitz and the glam, but people don't look at it from a 360 angle. There are benefits, but there's also a lot that comes with dating somebody with that type of status and lifestyle. And as far as athletes, I'm talking about the typical American football player or NBA player. I don't know about soccer and baseball and all that. This is what I'm touching on. My first point when it comes to the truth about dating an athlete or a rapper is that a lot of them have a lot of addictions. This honestly comes with the lifestyle, especially if they're not a man of faith or a man with discipline or with a family. If it's just a younger, typical athlete or rapper, they are living a fast-paced life, a lot of times a nightlife, especially for rappers, and they're living a life that really has no discipline. So oftentimes they get addicted to strip clubs and strippers. They get addicted to gambling. They get addicted to having you know what with multiple women, unprotected. They can be addicted to partying, always being seen, flashing money, and they can be addicted to attention, because especially for athletes, if whatever age they became poppin', it could have been 7 years old in the rec league or pee-wee football, from whatever that age was until now, they pretty much have been accustomed to getting attention from people kissing their butts, and they can become addicted to that. So they might expect that from you. And like I touched upon with them being undisciplined and sleeping with many women, when they do get in a relationship, that might be challenging for them to be monogamous, because they're used to women throwing themselves at them, not having to work for it, and it's very easy. And as a man that, has power and means, you might be in a relationship, but who really cares? Because if he ends up cheating, he most likely knows you're not going to leave. So you have to think about that. And not only that, as his partner, he's putting you at risk if he's cheating on you for catching something or having a baby on you. So these are some of the addictions you have to think about. And also with gambling, because a lot of them gamble, you have to think about your finances, because if he's irresponsible with his money, one day your account looks one way, but after a night in Vegas, it can look another way. My second point when it comes to the truth about dating athletes and rappers is about their ego. It's almost wired for most men, especially quote-unquote alpha men, to have some sort of ego, just being a man in general. But when you add money and power into the equation and access and attention, the ego can be through the roof. A lot of rappers are called by their rap name. You don't address them as their real name. It's the same thing with athletes. A lot of times with athletes, they're called their number on their jersey for football, or they're called their initials. So you call them CP, or you call them TJ, whatever their initials are, this is what you call them. And it's almost like you're dating two people, because you're dating the real person behind closed doors, and then you're dating the alter ego that they are in front of everybody else. And that can really put strain in a relationship, because if somebody's cocky and has a facade in the public world, they can embarrass you out in public, but behind closed doors claim they love you and want to do all this for you, but they're not consistent in how they're treating you and how they're acting. Also, some people have an ego to where they really don't care about you, even if they're dating you, and they could be married to you, because of this ego and the attention they've been getting. That ego can cause a man to literally just mistreat you, not care about what you have to say. If he's paying your bills especially, he definitely doesn't want to hear it from you. So you're muzzled in a way. Not to compare you to a dog, but that's how it feels. You're muzzled, and you almost feel trapped. And the problem too is a lot of them have friend groups and circles that are yes men, and they don't tell them, to make smart decisions. They just go with whatever the athlete or the rapper wants to do because they don't want to be cut off from the money train, from the gravy train. And it could also put you in a weird position as a woman who may care for him and you're dating him. If his homeboys and his family and his teammates are not saying anything to him, he's probably not going to take into consideration what you have to say, because now you're the oddball that is trying to have him live right or do better when everybody else doesn't. And if he doesn't have discipline, he's not going to listen to you. So you're going to be miserable. You're going to continually see him live life competing with everybody, trying to get a better, faster car than his teammate, or a bigger house than his coach, or buy all these diamonds and jewelry because he's always in the club. If he's a rapper, wasting money and doing egotistical things, and you have no say and no control. You're literally just by his side as a trophy, and he does not care. Number 3 is pressures. And a lot of athletes and rappers don't talk about this, but they all go through it. This really goes across the board for all athletes and rappers. Some of my other points don't apply to all of them, but this one does. Most of the time, these athletes and rappers are the only person in their family that has money. So everybody and their grandma are asking for money. They have their hand out. Oh, I got a light bill. Oh, I got a cell phone bill. Oh, my car note is past due. They have so much pressure from their family, and oftentimes, because there's studies that show this, athletes go broke, and people try to blame it on the lifestyle, but a lot of the times it's because they're trying to help so many people, and then when they need financial help, nobody's there for them. So a lot of them have so much pressure because who can say no to their mom? Who can say no to their grandma or their uncle that helped raise them? So that pressure falls on you as a girlfriend or a wife, because you almost feel like you're walking on eggshells to tell them don't give them money, because you are looking out for them, but they've known their family longer than they have known you. It just puts you in a weird place sometimes. And just to give you an example of this, of family pressures financially, is I remember I was watching this reality show, and this woman was married to an NBA player, and she was trying to advise him, like, stop paying for all these people's bills, because he was paying for about 12 people's phone bill. It was either their phone bill or their rent. And I was probably like a kid thinking, calculating in my head, like, that is thousands of dollars per month just paying for somebody else's phone bill. And that's not their responsibility, but it's hard to say no. Not only is there family pressures financially, but friends of theirs are needing from them. Their friends may not ask for money, but they want to be a part of the lifestyle. So they want tickets. They want to be flown out to hang with them when they are in the off season or whatever the case is. It can be a lot of leeches or just people that are very needy, and that's a lot of pressure on the rapper or the athlete. A particular pressure for rappers is that rappers are always in danger. When I tell you they're a target, and people half the time just want to, take them off the face of the earth just because they're rappers and they're successful. And a lot of rappers have, unfortunately, been taken away, if you know what I mean, because of whatever reason. It's just weird how rappers are always a target. So that's a pressure that rappers feel a lot of the time, is being paranoid or not feeling safe because people are after them. And there's also that type of case with NBA players too. They're in danger, or football players, they can be in danger too if they go to their old hood or where they used to grow up, and they can be a target too. So you have that pressure of having to really protect yourself financially, physically, in every way when you're an athlete and a rapper. And a particular pressure that athletes go through is if they're going through injuries. If an athlete is injured, it's very scary for them because they don't know how their body is going to heal, if they'll ever play at the same level, if they'll ever be able to get better, and if somebody will take their spot, especially with football. Football is very, very competitive and cutthroat, and someone will replace you at a drop of a dime. And basketball is very competitive too. There's not a lot of spots in the NBA, So if you're injured, that's a lot of pressure on them, and that stress can affect you as somebody who's dating them. Also, if it's their contract year, their contract's ending, and they need to play really well to secure the next contract and to get a good deal. That's a lot of pressure they're going through, and they might be snappy or mean. And another thing people don't think about when dating athletes is if they're on a bad team that loses all the time, that affects their mental health, and it's going to affect your mental health because you're dating them. And sometimes they might not even be on a bad team, but they're in a city they don't want to live in. It could be a city that's always rainy and dark, and that affects your mood. And if you live with them, that's going to affect you too. And another pressure to talk about with rappers is their relevancy. They're always under pressure to remain relevant because that's usually their only way to make money. If a rapper doesn't have investments and other ways to make passive income, they need to be relevant, because if they're not relevant, they can't tour and do shows, and that's how they primarily make their money, because usually they're not in a good deal and their lifestyle is very fast-paced and very expensive. So if they're not relevant, they're not booking shows like they should, and they're not making money like they should. So that puts a financial strain on them. It can affect their self-esteem and their ego, and that affects you because they can lash out, be snappy, be mean, or just be depressed. And my fourth and last point for part 1 is that sometimes athletes and rappers lack emotional intelligence. If you don't know what emotional intelligence is, it's basically your ability to understand how you're feeling and how somebody else is feeling, how you're able to communicate emotion, how you're able to listen to other people's emotion, how to change your method to be more compassionate or more understanding, things of that nature. And a lot of rappers and athletes don't have that. This is not all their fault, because sometimes they come from very rough neighborhoods, so they always had to be in a mode where they were almost numb or just in survival mode until they made it to where they are today. So that can actually be a crutch for them being able to be emotionally available for you or meet your emotional needs as a woman. And that's very hard to deal with, especially they could even want to be better at it, but they're always busy and always on the road, especially if they're in season or they're on tour. So it just isn't a priority all the time, even if they want to be that way. And then some of them, it's just the way they are and they're not going to change. So if you want that princess treatment, that's not just monetary or going on vacations, they may not be able to provide that for you. They may not be able to give you that comfort, the true vulnerability that you desire. And even if you want to be vulnerable with them or, empathetic to them, they may not even know how to receive that because of who they are, their lifestyle, and their past. So that's something people don't think about, and that can leave you miserable, especially as a woman, when you feel unheard and you feel like your emotional needs are not being met. So you can think money's going to make everything better, but you can be rich and miserable. It's very easy, especially being married and miserable too, if your partner is not giving you what you need in every single area. So that's part 1. If you like the video, give me a thumbs up. If you'd like to see part 2, it's going to come out shortly. And subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more. Share this with your friends, and thank you for watching. You are appreciated.